confidence. In a decade of adulthood, Minna Jepson had had 3 proper boyfriends, which was neither feeble nor excessive. She went with the tide, but there were gaps when nobody floated her boat, and moments when any port in a storm applied. But she wanted to be in love. It wasn't just because everyone else seemed to have a partner. She was self-sufficient, but well, there were times when she felt not lonely, not needy, but that life would be so much sweeter if there was someone with whom to share it. Knowing she could love because she'd loved before, she wanted someone else who would in turn love her. Minna was a staunch believer in commitment. She considered herself lucky to have parents who were still happy together. Grandparents too, whose like-minded friends were in for the long haul as well. Either had rhyming names like Jill and Phil and Ray and Kay, the exception being Paul and Pauline. Her younger sister was partnered constantly, if not consistently. Lisa discarded boyfriends like pairs of tights. She must have had worn them in layers. There's always some new, unladded lad at the ready. In short, if there's a gene for romantic longevity, Minna hoped she'd inherited it. Minna thought she'd really hit the jackpot with boyfriend number 4, Leo, who was her junior by 18 months. When she listed the qualities she was seeking in a partner, a list she regularly revised, changing fonts and indentations, by and large they were attributes of Leo's. But after 14 months together, Leo told Minna he was gay. Callie, her best friend since school, had been comforting but curt. By the time Leo dumped Minna, Callie was deep into her idyllic marriage to Todd, whom she'd met on a blind date arranged by a magazine. All Minna got was a lip gloss. Callie said, "Don't give yourself such a hard time. It won't be long before you look back on all this and shrug it off." Minna dabbed the tears from the corner of her eyes. "What makes you say that?" "It might have gone wrong for worse reasons, Min," said Callie. "Relationships fail all the time." It was clear she was referring to a world beyond her own blissful realm. "But the way it happened, you get to walk away blame-free. So move on, Min. Count yourself lucky and move on. Leo's a nice guy. He's not as if he's suddenly turned into a demon, but he's not for you. Just go out and find someone who is." It might have been intended as encouragement, but suggested only that the woman who had taken 5 weeks to decide between 2 near identical shades of apricot for a tablecloth at her wedding could, if required, be decisive. In the year just gone, Minna had turned 30, and 2 months after that began dating Julian Callender. Julian had come to work at McSampfire Strut, burned with the reputation for troubleshooting, just a few weeks before Minna started as an analyst. The recruitment freeze that swiftly followed was unconnected to either appointment. Julian proved his worth so fast his 1 day a week became 2. His contract was extended from 3 months to 6. The day the memo circulated announcing he had agreed to stay on as permanent part-time was one of unmitigated joy. Minna herself received an email confirming that her probation period was over and she was now a fully paid-up member of staff. She felt relieved. Julian was so impressive that she feared he'd be a shoo-in while she'd be surplus to requirements. Julian was a likeable guy. Minna got the sense that Adam, the other man on the team, wanted to enlist him as a drinking partner or some partner in some blue sky business scheme. The other women, Kerry and Stephanie, were flirtatious, but no more so than those on this floor, the ones above and below, and in the sandwich shop across the road. If Minna were honest, she made a little jealous that Julian's was the more creative role. Her cultural life was by no means barren. She could happily spend a Sunday with a Bonnet drama box set, and she never missed the new Kathy Kelly. But the way her colleagues enthused about some technical or creative problem Julian had solved, or how he'd won over a truculent client, each comment liberally laced with awe and devotion, made her feel out of step, which she did not much like. And then, one Friday evening early in June, during Adam's birthday celebration, she found herself regarding Julian afresh. Minna's team were in their favourite haunt, a pub called Munro's, just off the Euston end of Tottenham Court Road. They ordered tapas and the wine flowed. Luckily, the tapas plates had been emptied and cleared away when Kerry checked her phone and let out a bark of alarm. Inquiries were made and the source revealed as an tenant SOS. She and her partner didn't have children or pets. We were maisonettes, she joked. They're just as demanding, but a lot more profitable. The situation wasn't urgent, but Kay was nothing if not diligent. Minna wasn't intentionally prying, but she happened to glance at Kerry's phone and was confronted by a close-up of a pair of hairy male feet submerged in water. Julian voiced mutual puzzlement. "I can't quite see what's got to do with repairs to one of your properties." "It's actually really helpful," Kerry informed them. "We encourage tenants to send photos of damage. It helps diagnose the problems and plan the solution. "Oh, now I see it," said Adam, taking the phone from Kerry, enlarging the image. "The tap's come off. You'd have thought he'd have got out of the bath first before taking the photograph, wouldn't you?" The evening never really recovered after that, but they'd done well. Minna surveyed the discarded bottles of wine and considered the conversations that poured from them. She mused on the marvels of wine. It has no knowledge, but it harbours many views and the skills to disseminate them. Minna didn't feel drunk, just mellow and end-of-weekish. But even so, she found herself engulfed by melancholy. She recalled that Julian said the mood plummeting with the story about disadvantaged countries. Travel was his thing, which Minna did not find very relatable. Apart from university, parental trips across the channel to purchase alcohol for Christmas, spot of interrailing, skiing trip to Switzerland, and summer holds with her sister, she'd been London-based. Travel seemed so effortful, but Julian was a dab hand who could negotiate the trickiest situation. He'd winkle out the most cooperative camel in a pack. He'd know which noodles in a market stall were cooked fresh and not reheated. He knew the precise local price of a beer and its correct temperature for serving. By now, apart from the staff, Minna's team were Munro's sole occupants. "Just off the gents," said Adam, as Kerry snapped shut her phone. "I better ring Dave," said Kerry, "and see her off for gland nuts. I need a fag," said Stephanie. Julian and Minna found themselves alone. He smiled. "Something I said?" It wasn't an especially comical remark. Minna should have been irksome that Julian had droned on about poverty at a birthday celebration. It was as appropriate as planning a picnic in Ramadan. Actually, he could question his motives. There he was, stomping on carbon feet, but not as an aid worker or a peace promoter or anything beneficial to the greater good, but as a tourist. But all that mattered was that he seemed to be flattering Minna now, so she smiled back. Her spirits lifted immediately. She regarded her wine glass and saw it was empty. But whatever agency had promoted this delicious new contentment, it was not working under the auspices of alcohol. Minna smiled again. Julian had a nice smile, she thought, as if noticing for the first time. She felt as if she was catching up with everyone at last. But silence loomed. One of them had to say something, but all Minna could summon were the results of an office-wide poll in which the majority had chosen to reinstate fair trade coffee, oversupplying the bathrooms with antibacterial hand wash. Personally, she told Julian, I'd like both. But there must be cost implications, and I'm not sure the hand wash is eco-friendly. Mercifully, she stopped there, although privately the sentence trilled on. Actually, you're quite sexy, aren't you? Mercifully again, Minna realised that she was not toiling alone. Julian rewarded her attention lavishly. He made jokes that she found so hilarious that she was convinced he'd scripted them just for her. He delivered revelations perfectly tailored to her enhance her own points of view, or to introduce new and instantly life-enhancing perceptions. All this took place within roughly a time frame of 3 minutes. When the others resumed their positions, Julian and Minna were mid-snog. "Don't let us interrupt!" And there I was feeling bad about abandoning you. It's only to the other day. You don't see Minna and Julian chatting very often. So how long has this been going on for? Julian drew back from Minna slowly, so that she did not feel like an abrupt attachment. He said, "Anyone fancy another drink?" Adam hesitated as attempted. "No, I've got to be up early to take the girls swimming, so I'd best not stay." He was referring to his daughters, who were 3. "I've got a quiet day planned," said Stephanie. "But in the evening, I'm going to the theatre with Janine." Interchangeable, the uninitiated, the members of Stephanie's social circle fulfilled specific functions and operated on a rota. Along with prescribed activities, they had designated meeting points. Days of the weeks vary, but a tennis friend never angled an invitation to cake decoration, or vice versa. She added, "There's a new play on at the National, and we've got 10 quid tickets." "Oh, what's the play?" asked Julian. "I've no idea." Janine read about it in the Metro. The request for specifics overstretched the brief. "I'm going to the theatre with Janine." Dave's making noises about a trip to B&Q. That's Kerry, of course. If that means I ought to make a move. Minna suddenly had an incredible thirst. "I'll stay," she gushed. And so they did. Wasn't dating a colleague asking for trouble? Didn't everyone know that? And again, when he thought about it, colleagues should date all the time. We see more of the people we work with than family and friends. It's friends you shouldn't go out with. And Julian wasn't a friend. None of the team was. Minna found she very much enjoyed the business of getting acquainted with Julian. He was the only person she knew who didn't own a television. But who needs TV when you've got a million real-life stories zooming around your head? Julian showed her photo albums and played homemade videos on his iPhone. Minna quickly found herself enthralled to his every word, and soon they were a couple. Sometimes, Julian and Minna spent the whole weekend in Julian's flat in W2. Julian would cook authentic African or Indian meals with Minna's assistance. It was summer, but she was more than happy to forego picnics in Greenwich or swimming in the ponds at Hampstead Heath. She didn't go clothes shopping because there were no parties to attend. It appeared that she'd dropped out of several social loops, which she was slow to realise because she spent less time on Facebook and on the phone to friends. She told Lisa to find someone else to take her place in our Ibiza holiday, even though she begged to be included back in the depths of winter. Sunny days sailed over Parade Street and swallowed Minna and Julian with them. When they ventured out, things invariably went wrong, but that only added to the fun. It was hilarious to think that Julian had made it through the Amazonian rainforests, which was a scratch on his ankle and a thirst, and yet the car he'd borrowed from a mate, someone never seen by Minna, died just before Hillingdon en route to the Oxfordshire B&B. Trains were cancelled, bus timetables expired, and taxis sailed past despite having their lights on. As the weeks went by, Minna came to notice the way Julian's stories tailed off, as if their retrieval had unearthed disappointment, not fulfilment. She wondered if Julian had pursued travel as an act of evasion. She didn't want to spoil their days together, so she didn't ask for reasons. Besides, as his girlfriend, wasn't it her privilege as much as her burden to see what was hidden to others? "This is nice, isn't it?" said Julian, squeezing her frozen hand on the way back from somewhere cold and muddy. She squeezed back. "Yes, it is." She kept telling herself it was, and would be even nicer when she told the team on Monday morning. How they relished tales of Julian and Minna's weekends. She always managed to satisfy their curiosity, which made it so much easier to conclude that she too was satisfied. Even so, it seemed as if the rest of the world was wearing rose-tinted spectacles, and Minna felt excluded all over again. After 4 months, Minna realised she made a big mistake, and she ended the relationship. It happened in Australia, which was an expensive way of doing things, but effective. The occasion was a wedding of an old friend of Julian's. The team at work naturally were thrilled. Callie was impressed too, because her honeymoon had taken her no further than Torremolinos. Minna embraced the opportunity and the end of summer sales. It was a privilege to be invited when she and Julian hadn't been together all that long, and you couldn't ask for a better public induction than a wedding. It chimed with the extremes of Julian's life as described, if not experienced. And how romantic! Sex between them was great, but Julian wasn't one for great displays of public affection. Maybe his hands were so used to carrying maps and compasses, all those walking sticks, the ones for the outdoorsy and not the elderly, that it felt unnatural to entwine fingers with smooth human flesh. But all that could change. They were staying with Julian's older brother, Adrian, who lived practically on the water. So far, Julian's family had been as scarce as his friends. Not even Minna's mother had succeeded in extracting more than his parents' names. Julian had promised to take Minna to meet his folks, but the logistics were difficult because they'd retired remotely to some hamlet in Dorset. So she was fascinated to meet Adrian. Cut from the same cloth, how alike were the Calendar brothers? She and Lisa were evidence of just how wide and deep the gene pool could be. But since there's only a 2-year age gap between the boys, perhaps they'd been close. Then again, Adrian had lived in Sydney for nearly a decade. He married an Aussie girl when he was 21, Julian explained. Wow, and they've been there ever since. Have they got kids? Julian hadn't mentioned nieces or nephews. He shook his head. The marriage only lasted a year. She went back to Perth and Adie stayed in Sydney. He must like it, I guess. That's so sad, said Minna. What went wrong? They got bored of each other, apparently, said Julian. After only a year? Julian shrugged. You wouldn't think it possible, would you? Minna decided to leave the subject there. But she was not cast down. Spring in Australia, as the London autumn closed in, promised so much. At last she'd see Julian's spirit of adventure. It would rub off on her, and she'd learn new skills. Minna read a charity shop purchase Lonely Planet guide on the plane. Every now and then she nudged Julian, who was watching back-to-back movies, and she shortlisted possible excursions. Without looking away from his screen, he said things like, "Oh, I went there. I need to go again. It's not up to much, just desert really. But I swam with dolphins in the Galapagos." They arrived in Sydney at 6 a.m. on the Friday, body clocks out of sync. Wasn't Julian used to crossing time zones? But wide with excitement. As their taxi pulled in, Adrian greeted them briefly, handed over some house keys, and cycled off. The tourists showered and changed and had coffee. The Minna said, "Right, our first day in Australia. What should we do?" Julian was scanning a listing supplement for the weekend paper. How thoughtful Adrian provided. Unfortunately, as the morning wore on, it became clear that reading was all Julian was intent on doing. I feel a bit knackered, Min, he said at noon. Think I'll have a kip. But I thought the best way to fight jet lag was to stay up all day and go to bed at your normal time. Maybe it's not jet lag. Could be something late on the plane. Feeling pretty rough, actually. Okay, she said, kissing him on the forehead. Have a sleep, but I might go for a wander. After all, it's my first day in Sydney. Don't want to waste a minute. He squeezed her hand. Good idea. Adie's brought plenty of food, but if you come across a chemist, something for a dodgy tum wouldn't go amiss. Minna savoured opening the front door to a view of the boats on the harbour, the scent of eucalyptus. Then all of a sudden the air was filled with a screech, and Minna was surrounded by an angry cloud of black and white. No one had warned about magpie nesting season. The notion of a week-long house arrest was only marginally less attractive than being dive-bombed whenever she stepped into the street. She respected the bird's protective instincts, but regretted the fact that her summer sale purchases wouldn't look quite as gorgeous as she intended when teamed with a patchwork of surgical gauze. Julian recovered in time for Saturday's wedding, so it was a real shame to arrive at the Gardenia Garden venue to be informed by the groom's parents that had been called off at the last minute. The bride had been announced the night before that she was pregnant by someone other than the groom-to-be. Well, said Minna, that's a shame for them, but it got us here and we've still got 3 weeks to fill. But 6 days later in Melbourne, during an episode of Australia's Got Talent, Minna found she could go on no longer. She turned to Julian, who had not stirred from the television for 20 minutes, and said, I'm sorry, Julian, but I'm not happy and I can't do this. I'm going to use the internet downstairs and change my ticket and book a flight back to London. Julian looked perplexed. I didn't realise. Does that mean we're splitting up? Minna's heart began to thud. Yes, Julian, she said, we're splitting up. His expression looked as though she'd pulled the world apart and stranded him, the trepidant traveller, without passport or money or any local lingo, as if Minna was the bold adventurer when she never felt less courageous in her life. Thank you.